Welcome to In Progress, hosted by the one and only Miss Julia Allen.
Hello. Welcome to this month's In Progress, the show where we talk about writing from more than one point of view and where we are in our own progress. So today we have, of course, the wonderful Jo Compton, the one and only.
Hello.
And we are welcoming aboard Emily Fisher, a debuting author. She's got a book coming out this year with Furies Press, so we're very excited to have her and get her perspective as a newer author. Do you want to introduce yourself, Emily?
Yeah, my name is Emily Fisher. I am 22. As Julia said, will be debuting actually next year, I believe, in the fall. And yeah, I'm really excited to have a project finished for sure.
What kind of fiction do you write?
Fantasy.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe's doing something. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but Joe, what are you working on? What's your in progress report?
What were we gonna do for last month? The goals? Well, obviously everybody just saw.
Well, I thought we could start with talking about like what we're working on now, and then at the end of the show, we'll talk about goals for next month and what we did.
Yeah. So for me right now, I'm currently working on the flagship show for Go Indie Now, our big show that we do at the end of the month, and unfortunately, it's going to be at the beginning of this month. Things just piled on top of me, and we'll talk more about that during the goals section of tonight. But yeah, that's what I'm working on, and of course, slowly but surely, I haven't written probably more than 10 words in my novel, my third book yet. So I'm hoping to get back on that horse. I just started reading a really good book, so I'm real excited about that. Which of course both of you are probably super familiar with, which is called Moss and Clay. And by Miss Rebecca Jonesy, and it's really good. I'm about 20 pages in, 25 pages in. I don't know. With Kindle, it's hard to tell, but it's on my Kindle, so I've been reading it that way. But yeah, I think I'm about 25 in, and I'm really liking it. I'm not big, as you know, Julia. I'm not a big fantasy guy, so to get me excited about a fantasy novel is something that I think is something that's worthy, and hopefully our guest tonight will do the same with her debut.
I'm hoping. We'll see though.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your story idea? Like, I know you're still like working through the ending and stuff. You're kind of still a little early in the process, but what's like your like premise for the story? Like,
man, so I haven't had to explain it in a while. I'll have to think. Basically, it follows a young woman, and the story starts out with she goes out. It's in like medieval time period-ish, and she goes out to her hen house to feed her chickens, and she finds a red-haired man in there, and essentially like redheads only hail from a certain area of the world, and she has never seen one, and it's just a very it kind of goes from there, and it revolves around like royalty and what's right and what's wrong in the boundaries of control and all of that sort of stuff. So without giving too much details, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love working with themes like that of like doing what's right versus like what's easy and stuff. And especially I write young adult, so to me like the themes are really important. So yeah. Are you working on anything else besides the book right now? Personal projects, work projects?
Work projects. I write articles for a local Detroit website. So I've been writing. I just finished an article last week, and I'm working on another one this week. So I've been talking to people and doing that. I also just finished editing. I don't know. Can I talk about this, Julia?
Sure, yeah.
Editing? Okay, yeah, just making sure. I finished editing The Road to Jericho by Mark, is it Reef? Yeah, that was fantastic. It was honestly hard to edit because it was just like I had to keep reminding myself that I couldn't just read it. I had to like
right, you got
reread
into
the same
story.
paragraph.
Yeah.
Like, is there a comma here that needs to be here? Like, yeah, it was
Right.
a really fantastic read. And then other than that, I've just been pretty much working on social media for Three Fairies, and that's keeping me busy.
Yeah, Emma's great. She helps me with a lot of stuff as my second editor, and she helps with the social media. She's great at making graphics.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
She's a pretty darn good editor too.
Thank you.
So firsthand.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. I appreciate that.
She worked on Joe's book, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next?" Like talking back and forth about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll talk about my in progress.
Yeah.
Please.
So I am looking for a new writing project, because I'll talk about this when we talk about last month's goals and stuff, but I finished my first draft, so I'm looking for something new to write, and I don't know if I'm going to start plotting book 2 already and get a head start because I was so procrastinating about book 1. It probably would be good to do book 2 sooner than, a couple months before release,
Yeah.
or a couple months before it needs to be edited at least. It was like, it needs to be edited now. Hey, guess what? I'm not done writing it, So as an editor, that was like the worst thing I could do to my editor. And I totally was like, sorry, but I did it. So I'm looking to like get back on the writing horse, and I'll be reading a book for Joe's show. I feel really bad he hasn't got the flagship show out yet, because I feel like it's my fault, because once again I was like, oh, I got my review to you at the very last second, and now you have to edit it.
Not your fault at all. No, this is purely on me this month. I had a lot of things going on, and my sleep cycle got a little screwed up, and it just a lot of things. And it was totally on me. Everybody had their stuff at the right time when I asked for it. So no, not at all. It was not a deadline problem at all.
Oh, I don't know, because I think you said by Friday, and I got it in at Friday at like 8 p.m. Just really pushing it.
That's all I asked. I didn't give you a time. That's fine. No, I'm totally. No, it was
He's
totally
so
fine.
nice. He's so nice to me.
No, seriously, it was totally fine. I actually got caught up in the new releases this month because, like you guys, in your editing, I edit a lot of that, and I usually do visuals and music to it, and put that together for the reading part mostly, and put all that together, and I was starting to get so into what was being read this month. I actually bought every book that got read because I was
you felt her pain. Yeah, you felt her pain when we were trying to edit, and we're like, oh, but I need to know what happens next. Yeah, the struggle of editors,
literally,
for sure.
Literally, I was enthralled by every book that was being read this month. So it's good. It's a good new releases, everybody. But yeah, so I got bogged down with that, and that took me about 4 days to actually put together, which usually takes me about 2 or 3. This one took me about 4 days, and just so.
Just put you a little behind schedule, yeah.
Put me a little bit behind, and then of course, sleep cycles and everything like that, and everything is just messed up right now. So, and then of course the world's on fire. So
it really is. I was telling you before the show, I didn't sleep at all last night, and I got like 3-hour nap in before the show today, before I had to get ready and stuff, and it's just. There's something in the air right now. It's, a lot of crazy uncertainty and just too much thinking. I'm overthinking everything. I'm like, feeling a lot of stuff. And
yeah, for sure.
But I have hope. I think I have hope for the future,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really do.
At this point, that's what you got to cling to something, right? So
Yeah. I've always been more the optimistic type, so I'm like change and good things happening from all the crazy stuff that's going on. But yeah,
can I ask a question of our guest?
Yes, of course.
I was curious, how much being an editor and having read all these books that you read for Three Furious Press helped you in your process, or did it hurt you because you're in editing mode all the time and you're writing? And is it something? I mean, this is your first book, so I would imagine the editor brain and the writer brain collide quite a bit. You're not just used to how to turn those off just yet, but I'm just curious how it helped you, though. Did it help you?
Yes, I think it definitely helped me. I've been writing for as long as I can remember, but honestly, it wasn't until I was editing, I want to say like my second or third book for Three Furies, that I was like, oh, that's how sentences work, which is like the dumbest thing to think, but it was like, just there's this flow that needs to happen where it's like you can't have sentences in a row that have the same beat. Like it has to have, an ing here and a ly here, and like there's a certain flow to writing that needs to happen, and each writer has their own flow. But it wasn't until like I was avidly looking through different writers that I was like, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know how to explain it beyond that, but it definitely,
I think
it's like the voice, right? I mean, it's like finding your author voice, and that's something that's really hard to do. This is my third book in, although I've been writing all my life too, and I've been publishing more than just books all my life, and written other things and done other things. So, but you really you kind of have to figure out your cadence and your voice, and you don't want it to sound like anybody else's, so you kind of run through all that, and it kind of gets in your way.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the things that I had written down to talk about too was I think there's this huge stigma with writing that like it has to be original and it has to be different and it can't be like anything else. And I think one of the biggest things that's helped me is if I feel like stuck or blocked, finding either an author that writes similarly to me, or a story that's similar either with their characters or with their storyline itself, is like delving into that. So if it's like a TV show or a book, like getting into it and seeing like, okay, how does this work here? And how can I twist it and mold it into my own story to help me move forward with my own stuff? Which I think is super cool. Because nothing's necessarily original. It's just a new melding of all of the things that have already been done. So
right. It's giving life to your characters going through their journey, and I really feel like, because I've read a little bit of the draft, and I really feel like you have found your style. And I think that what helped you to find your style was two things, knowing you for a few years now. One is your poetry, and two is your articles and blogging. So do you want to, like, I have a question for you. How is it different writing your articles than it is writing, poetry and fiction?
It's, I just want to say that like it feels like each part of everything is a completely different part of my brain. Like writing an article is definitely like finding a point of view and being able to explain it through how other people talk about it. Writing poetry is a very personal thing for me. So it's finding words that really represent exactly how I'm feeling at that time. And then fiction is very much like my characters are real human beings that are telling me what to do. So it just feels like I have to kind of just document what they're telling me is happening. So it's all like drastically different. it's just completely different areas of my brain that are working. So
right. So how do you keep your voice in all of them? Like, how do you find that comment? I'm asking the hard hitting questions tonight.
I know, right? Oh God, I wasn't expecting this. Man, I don't. So I definitely, I think a huge way to attribute it is I was raised in a very witty, sarcastic household. So having that, the like quick thinking or the ability to also, my dad is someone that is very good at seeing people in different views and discussing like the same point from like 8 different views. And I think that's definitely really helped me consolidate down to my singular voice just from being able to say, I like this aspect or this character, even though like they're a full character and they're kind of telling me what to do, I can say they have a similar attribute to this person. And then I guess it just kind of all melds together. I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense because like I feel like you have like a sort of lyricalness from your poetry and then a very personal style from your article writing. Like a very friendly, genuine approach, and then that wit and that banter and some of your characters, like you were saying.
I think a lot of it too is just I write what I want to read. So like my favorite poems that I've written, I still like every time that I read them, I can feel exactly what I was feeling when I wrote them. And so, you know, even if other people don't have that same attachment, it's very much like I wrote something that helped me process that area of my life. And I think that's really important thing about writing is not writing for an audience. And like, you definitely have to keep your audience in mind because you can't, you know, not everyone's going to want to read your personal Silmarillion of your story. But it's definitely writing something that you want to read for sure. And then that's going to be something that's going to emulate or spread out to other people.
Now I want to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. No.
We have a question from the audience. Anita Stewart wants to ask you, Emily, as a first-time author, how has the publishing process met your how has the publishing process met your expectations? Has there been anything that surprised you?
Well, I haven't seen like a crazy amount of publishing. Three Furies, I think, is very special with how they do things because they're very personal. And I think that's definitely different than what I've always heard of publishing is, you know, publishing is very much like they get a hold of your transcript and they're going to rip it to shreds and it's not going to be the same book by the time you get it back. And I think Three Furies very much tries to keep the voice there and the true elements of the story and the writer themselves that they put into it. So I think that's definitely, specifically with Three Furies, has surprised me a lot with its very personal and it's very...
I'm starting to believe I'm the only one that gets cattle prodded at Three Furies.
No. We definitely cattle prod, but I think it's a different type of...
I'm starting to think it's special to me that she just wanted the cattle prod.
No. I think what we try to do is like, unlike other editors or publishing houses, like if the editor says you need to change this, you need to do this with this character, or it doesn't get published. We try not to do that. We try to have a conversation and say, why do you want this to happen? Here's an alternative and why we think it's a good idea. But we always try to make it like a conversation. And then Rebecca comes in with the cattle prod and says, write faster, because that's what she did with me. It wasn't that I didn't have the ideas down. I just needed to get the words, make the words do. And so she was like, faster, do more sprints, get going with the cattle prod.
For sure.
So what's the second part of the question? What do you think about that? What surprised you?
What has surprised me? Definitely. I think a huge thing that has surprised me is how many writers there are. Because I've always definitely wanted to be a published author, and that's always been a goal of mine. And I don't know if it's because I came from a small town or what it was, but I kind of just felt extremely unique in that facet. And then now, since I'm seeing, so many books and so many people submitting things and so many people, just like me being on Twitter for Three Fairies and stuff like that, and just seeing all of these authors that are just everywhere and writing all the time. And I guess I think seeing the vastness of the community has definitely surprised me. And I don't know, it's exciting that it's like, you would think that it would be sad for me that it's like not a necessarily unique thing, but I think it's super exciting because there's so many stories that are being told, which I think is awesome.
Well, finding your community is great. For sure. Like, knowing you're not alone, it doesn't mean you're not special or unique. Right. You have your own special voice, your own stories to tell, but like finding people with the same passion as you just like is inspiring, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And being someone who has been through the ringer in the publishing world and had bad publishing experiences and knows a lot of publishing companies, a lot of publishers and things of that nature, I can tell you that's the magic dust that makes Three Fairies very special, is that it's cultivating a community. It's the idea is that we're not publishing your book, we're hugging your book. The love that goes behind what all of you do there is very, very apparent to somebody who is not used to being hugged alive when it comes to my book. It's very nice. It was a very different experience, and I really appreciated that. I mean, you all were very, very, very thorough, very harsh, and you guys all had a role to play, and that's also the very cool thing about it, how you guys run like an assembly line almost, and it's very cool that you go through this one point to this one point to this next point, and you're told the entire way from the beginning where it's going and how it's going, and you're given updates, and all of those things make Three Furies very special. And I think that part of it is very unique to them. And I mean, I'm sure there's other publishers that do that, and I probably know a couple as well, but they really do feel like they're hugging you and not, destroying you, and that's pretty cool.
You guys are just saying that because the Fury is here. Our wings, yes. We have wings because we're Furies. No, I think that's the charm of small publishers and small presses is that we can cultivate a better relationship with our authors, and I feel like it makes for a more magical product.
But unlike other small publishers, you guys take on a fury of people, just as Emily said. I mean, the list grows every day. You guys don't stop looking for. You cut it off at some point, but then all of a sudden you're back to, okay, now we're open again. Come and submit. And Rebecca will swoop you up very, very quickly if she really likes what you're doing. And it doesn't stop. You guys have just continued to grow. Whereas like other small publishers will hold on, get their 5 people and hold on to those 5 people and then that will be it. Because one, it's a lot to handle. That's a lot of people to handle. And 2, it's usually when it's a small publisher, it's usually 1 or 2 people. You guys are luckily have 4 or 5 people that you can rely on, and then you also have outside resources that you guys have cultivated that has helped a lot too. So I think all of that matters, and I think that's again a very distinct difference in the way that you all do things, and I think it's admirable for sure.
Well, thank you.
Okay, my soapbox segment's done. I'll get off.
I just feel like warm fuzzies. Like this is like the best thing I could hear, like to like really cheer me up and like really boost me up is that you guys do feel the personal difference, and it means a lot to me as a Fury, and I know it means a lot to all of us. This is like passion for us. It's our passion and giving voice to other people. But I don't want to make this about Three Furies. I want this to be about them.
We have an awesome guest here.
Yeah. So I kind of challenged M to come up with some question topics of like what she wants to know / wish she had known when she started the whole process. I know you had a couple things written down. Do you want to start talking about some of that stuff? Like,
Sure.
what did you wish you knew when you started the drafting process and all of that?
Yeah. I think something that I always knew in the back of my head, but I would never admit to myself, is that the first draft is going to suck. It's going to be really bad. And I've actually been reading Anne Lamott's book, Bird by Bird.
Yes,
and
that's a great one.
Oh my God, it's so good. Like, there's a whole chapter about perfectionism, and I just want to like highlight the entire chapter because that's such an issue with me, is just, especially with Joe, what you were talking about with the editing brain, because I do that all the time. It's hard to turn that off when I'm writing.
You'll learn. That'll come naturally when it's just your first go round. It's probably your first couple go rounds. I think ultimately, you get it. Like you said, you're getting a cadence, rhythm. You're finding your voice, and when you do that, then it'll come naturally to change that for sure.
Right. Oh, good. That's good to hear. Because I'm like, if it's going to be like this forever, I'll publish one book every 10 years.
If you think of it like literally as putting a cap on, and some people do wear hats where they wear their writer hat and they wear a different hat for editing. Or they have a ritual where like they'll light candles and put it on a certain playlist, and that means it's writing mode. It's just getting that switch in your brain to go like, we're creating, we're not being critical right now. And the more you recognize when you sit down, like, okay, it's writing time, the easier it will be to switch.
That's awesome. That's good to know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I think it's really important to not edit as you go.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm learning. Especially going back through, I just recently finished my first draft and I'm going back through and working on my second draft. And I'm definitely finding errors, but it's very precise. It's very like, everything is very like almost scripted in my first draft. And it's like, you can tell that there was like no just swirls of emotion or anything. There was just like, these are the things that happen and this is when it happens. So I'm definitely trying to put actual life into it with the second draft. And I'm beginning to wish that like I knew that it was going to be bad the first time around so that I could have more fun with the second draft, adding in like the fun little flourishes instead of like all of the emotion and feeling that a book needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you are more of a pantser, they always say draft 0. They don't call it the first draft anymore. They call it draft 0. It's just getting the plot down. This is what happened. And so I think that's probably what you were doing. Is you're just like, what is the actual story? What is my characters? I'm just documenting what my characters are doing.
Right.
And then it's great that you recognize that the next step is to put the heart in.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been kind of fun. I sent you, I think, the first like 2 chapters or chapter and a half. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun going through and actually, because it's hard too, because it's like I can look at a chapter of someone else's stuff and be like, oh yeah, this needs some stuff, this is really good, this needs some stuff, but looking at my own stuff I'm like, this is all trash. I don't know. I don't know what.
I hate editing. I love editing other people's stuff. I hate editing my own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have a question for you, kind of as like, because you are able to analyze other people's writings. How aware are you of things like plot devices, like flashbacks, and like what techniques you're going to use, like the skills you're going to incorporate? How aware of you, like while you're drafting, or does it just kind of happen subconsciously?
I would say I'm pretty aware of it. My brother, ever since we've been little, he's always been like pointing out plot holes in anything that we read or watch or listen to. And so it's very like almost just like a subconscious part of my brain that's just like, you can't say that because that doesn't line up with that. And so I think it's with like plot devices too. I think it's something that I'm hoping I will be less conscious of it moving forward, just so it's easier to just draft and just write. But I think currently it's something that I'm really wary of, because I want to make sure that a story, like my story, flows all the way through, and that there's not just like a random dream scene and then there's nothing else. You know, like that one, I don't remember what Batman movie it was. Was it Batman versus Superman, that there was just like dream sequences all over the place and no one knew what was happening?
Yeah, it was Batman v Superman.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I'm very, wary of, and just like almost so cautious that I don't even use it, if that makes sense. But I think there's some stuff that can be very fun to mess around with, that I would love to mess around with in future. But for my first book, it's going to be like pretty cut and dry. No, nothing too.
Well, you do have a flashback in there, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's about balancing, like, throughout the whole book, rather than just like bam, 3 in the beginning and nothing for the rest of the book, or something, and
connecting it to what's actually happening. Like, it can't just be like, I'm walking down the street and then all of a sudden, like, my cow when I was little, his name was Penguin, and it's just like, what? No, it needs to like relate into what you're actually talking about.
I was just gonna say, to me, the biggest way you could tell a first time writer is a first time writer is they've got everything in there, right? They don't tell the story that they want to tell. They just
got all the tricks.
They have they have all the info dumping, all the little magic tricks, all the bells and whistles and mirrors, and yet you suddenly about 20 pages in go, what is this story? Where are we going? What is happening? And that is such a hard thing. We all do it. I mean, it's not set to one person, and there's people who probably got it right off the bat and didn't have to do that. I haven't met any of them, but
Zadie Smith. Zadie Smith. She wrote White Teeth in college, and it was her first book, and it was just like this like literary masterpiece I read in college. Like, why am I not like this?
I used to think it was Harper Lee, but Harper Lee said that she wrote like 700 drafts of the story. Published it. So, I mean, that would be the only one that I could have thought of, and still, I mean, there's a great scene in Capote where they're talking about how Capote she had him look at the book and he goes, yeah, when I got it, it was 9,000 pages, the first draft, so it's well, of course he was exaggerating, joking, but
even masterpieces are heavily edited. That is something to remember.
That's always the mark. Because like my first time I entered a screenplay contest, I had a flashback at the very first scene, and between the no that was written in red ink across the first 4 lines of my screenplay, was at the bottom of it goes, don't worry about it. There was somebody who was actually very nice to me and said, don't worry about it. You're a first timer. This will pass with time. You'll learn.
Right. You do get a better feel of like what is effective versus what feels gimmicky to the reader as you keep going. I think you've got a little bit of a jump start on that, Emily, because you're growing up always analyzing stuff and thinking about writing, but also now editing for other people. You kind of have got a good brain for that and looking out for that. So what are some other things that you like that you either like find striking, like that really stand out as being a debut author, or like that you wish you knew or that you have questions about?
I'm looking at my notes.
Sure.
One of the things that we were actually talking in the last live stream, was it Isa that talked about the binder?
Series compendium,
that is like such a good idea that I wish that I knew at the beginning of this, because I have like 6 notebooks of just like half filled of information, and I can't find any of them because they're just littered everywhere. But like taking a binder and you're able to move pages around and move scenes around. And even Julie, you do like note cards, and you can, you know, write out scenes in individual note cards and then move them around and see where they fit. And I'm definitely more of a pantser than a plotter. But I think even then, just writing down, you know, I hit points where it's like, I can't remember if I wrote that scene already or if it's still in my head. If so, where is it? And then I have to scroll through like 60 pages of information. So
with
a binder or note cards of information, then it's so much easier to just find the stuff and move it around instead of like write halfway through a notebook and then nothing's in order anymore. So that's definitely.
And you got to read through each page to find the right sentence you're looking for. I totally do that. My first 2 books, I wrote everything by hand. So not only were my notes in like 3 different notebooks, but I had like 4 composition books that were like my chapters written out by hand. And then I'd have to, and didn't write in order because I had my index card, so I knew which scene needed to go where. So I was like, what do I feel like writing today? And I just write a random chapter. So it was like constantly flipping through pages. But the series compendium is great because you can like organize it by like locations that you have in the books, like different settings. You can have different character sketches. You can have, and this is something that if you are more of a pantser, you can do as you're writing, like write down my character has this color hair, so you keep track of that. And then this happens in chapter 3 as you go or after you finish that draft 0. So it doesn't have to be like a sit down, do all this work ahead of time. You can do it as you're going and just like say, this is what happens in chapter 3. So I remember later, you know, especially if you're writing a series.
Yep, for sure. I as of now, my book will be a standalone. But there's definitely been points of time where it's like, oh my God, if I were to make this into a series, like I would have to pay way more attention to what I'm putting down. Oh my God. How do and like with Becca's, Joe, you were talking about Moth and Clay, like her series, she has what, 50 books planned
out? She's got a lot planned. She's got a lot planned out. Yeah.
And I'm like, how? I can't even get one done. But I know she's more experienced, but it's like, it takes so much brain capacity to be able to plan that far ahead and know your characters that well. And it's truly amazing, honestly.
She just keeps it in her head and it's amazing. But, you know, she is definitely a pantser. So, but she wants to do like a resource of like all the different types of fae and like how to keep track of them and stuff. And I'm like, make that so I can have it because I'm like, because of her books, I'm now fascinated with fae.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, we have another question from the audience. I don't know how much it fits into what we're talking about, but JD Estrada wants to know how many betas is too little and too many, and maybe he was just making a comment, but
sure. Well, I mean, it depends on, you know, if you are doing this without an editor, then obviously it's kind of a good idea to get like a few opinions, because you don't want to rely on just like one friend. Like, first of all, you shouldn't be asking your friends to beta read for you unless they are other writers or avid readers of your genre and not afraid to hurt your feelings and critique you. Like, you want honest answers. And you don't just want, oh, this needs a comma here. You want actual feedback on the story. I would say 3 is a really rounded number, but if you have a dev editor and you have if you have a dev editor, then you don't need as much beta reading because that's what your dev editor is for. That's what they're doing and that's what they know what they're doing. So you don't need to rely on other people as much.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I already have like my list done of people that are gonna like critique it, like along with Three Furies, but it's definitely like I think it's like 2 other people than Three Furies just because they see strictly different things.
Right, I'm guessing your brother is one of them.
My brother is one, and actually my boyfriend is the other one. He's been, I wrote some short stories a little while ago, and had some fun with them, and which was very good. He made them better, but yeah.
Right. Here's where the Godfather is going to give you a little advice right now. Okay,
Yeah.
a little tidbit from me to everybody out there. Do not, if you have beta readers and you have people who really loved your book, and they say, okay, the next book you write, I want to be a beta reader. Don't wait 5 years to tell them that you've published another book, because that will then all the people who wanted to beta read my book, because I took 5 years to make this book happen, were like, oh yeah, but I have to go back and read the first one if I want to be a good beta reader for you on the second book. And I'm like, no, you don't. Just read this book.
So, well, that's the charm of your book, is it works well as a standalone as well. Like you know, of course you should read book one.
I'm teasing my friends out there, but yeah, it's
Yep.
Well, that's what the paddle prod is for, to keep you from waiting 5 years.
Yes.
There you go. That's awesome.
Oh, good, Anita. Those are, cherish them when you find good ones. Yeah.
This is a really good question, because you're about to face this, Emily. So what do you think of JD's question? Is it terrifying out there right now to think about publishing a book within our society at this point?
Not really, not necessarily. Again, you know, something that I said earlier was I very much write something that I want to read.
Yeah.
And I know that my book is going to end up being what I want it to be by the time it hits the online shelves. So I guess there always is the fear of, what are people going to think about it? Are they going to hate it?
Yeah, that never goes away, no matter when you're publishing it. So.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many books come out. You're still like, read it, but don't read it.
Yeah, for sure. I think
your approach is the right one. I think that's the best way to do it, is to publish what you want to publish, because you would have read that book. I mean, that's the passion behind it, and I think that people recognize that very easily. I kind of want to jump on top of this question a little bit. Yes, I just did say that. Rebecca can.
She'll have her way with it.
but I think that's more. I'm curious from the Three Furies perspective, if there's been talks about how you guys are changing your model because of the way that the world is working right now. Has that been a discussion, or is it just business as usual?
Well, as far as like social media presence and stuff, you know, that doesn't change. We try to help with launch schedules if the author wants one, and like that's just a matter of, we provide promo graphics and say like, here, you know, here's a good day to post this one. Here's a good day to post a little character interview if you've had one made up, and you know, here's some fun stuff you can talk about, like a lesser known fact about your book, or what you were going through while you're writing. And you know, I think that helps, just because they freeze and like, oh my God, what do I talk about when I talk about my book? So we like to do that for our authors. But like for me, I was supposed to have a big party to celebrate, you know, the whole trilogy being done, and like that was supposed to happen in May, and obviously that didn't work out. And so like people are worried about like missing out on conventions. They get a lot of their income from that, or they get a lot of exposure from that. I like to do library talks and other local events, just to like, you know, get my name out there, maybe sell a few books. So that's definitely been affected by these times. But I think we will get back to a point where, you know, Diane was saying the other day, a new flow, you know, so it may be a couple months, but, you know, I'm determined to have my launch party to celebrate the trilogy, and just like, you know, have friends and family in a safe environment, and, you know, just celebrate my books. And, you know, I think that's important to really be like, my book is special and I'm going to do something special for it. And it's a great way to get your, nobody wants to click a link. They want like to buy the book from you. It's easier and you can sign it for them. It's fun. It's a party. Those are great things to do to get friends and families to get your book.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. I had a couple of questions for Emily that might put her on the spot again, but what's an author, living or dead, that you would love to talk writing with?
I actually recently, a couple years ago now, actually, I met my favorite author, Gail Carson Levine, and got to talk with her a little bit about writing and stuff like that. She actually came to my town and did like a little writing seminar for the library that my mom works at. So that was super cool. And
I was there.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Your mom works at a library? Oh my gosh, that's you're destined. It's like destiny.
Yes. But beyond that, I think I was thinking about this earlier today, and I think C.S. Lewis would be a super cool person to talk to about writing, just strictly because of his vocabulary, and then also his he has such a vast area of what he writes about, and it's very like from scholarly to the Narnia books to I think he has a book. It's kind of a children's book called it's something about pigs. I can't remember the title of it. I'm my own big fat pig or something like that. And it just is a very sarcastic book about or a selfish pig, I think is called.
Okay.
But it's it's like a children's book, sarcastic about talking about personalities and how to interact with other individuals. And I think just his writing style and the information that he has and has talked about would be fascinating to converse with him about that.
Yeah, someone who's written so many different ways and different genres of books would be really fascinating to talk writing about.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, what is a writer, living or dead, that you would like to talk life about with?
I think it would be fun to talk to Shakespeare about life. Just because, like, I don't know what he was like as a person necessarily.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like he'd be kind of a goofy person to just be like, so what'd you do today? What'd you eat for breakfast? Like, what's your plan? Like,
well, he definitely had a sense of humor. There's a lot of humor in a lot of jokes in his writing.
Yeah, I think that'd be fascinating.
Yeah, he's a good one. How about you, Joe? Do you have a writer you'd love to sit down and talk either writing or life with?
Yeah, probably Truman Capote on both.
Really?
I would think that would be a real cool conversation to have. Yeah, I think that would be the one for me. I mean, I would be a little nervous to do Poe just because he was a heroin addict and all those kind of things. So,
right.
Maybe not the best grade. That probably would be disappointing.
Well, it'd be probably like a melancholy conversation for sure.
I think Shakespeare I would have the same fear about, that it would be disappointing,
for sure.
Because he has no idea how much impact he's had on the world.
100%. Yeah.
Same with like Socrates or anything like that. Plus, I don't speak Greek, so that would be tough.
That would be
Yeah, or Latin, but I guess they probably spoke Latin back then. But I think Truman Capote would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
just to sit down and have drinks with him and just get drunk and hammered and just listen to him story after story. I would regale in that. I just would love all that. I mean, I tired of the breakfast at Tiffany's talk, but I would go into more of the. I wouldn't go into his darker stuff either because that screwed him up. I don't know. Just more of what he used to write in the New Yorker and stuff like that. I think that would be fun. But modern day authors, I mean, I've talked to a lot of really good ones, so I'm really impressed with a lot of the people I've met. So I've been very lucky and blessed in that respect. So.
Yeah, you've had some cool interviews and stuff.
People I've shared panels with, just been around at a conference, maybe not even interviewed, just been at a conference and talked to them. That's pretty impressive too. So, but how about you?
I would fangirl like crazy and maybe not be able to talk, but I would love Jane Austen is my idol, and because she just has like, she's writing about everyday things, but she like makes it so entertaining and dramatic and meaningful. Like, this moment of between two people at tea suddenly becomes this huge conflict, and I think that's like such good writing to be able to like take an everyday scene and make it so meaningful, and her characters just come to life, and I think that she just like she just like has a lot of thoughts on stuff, like on life and love and everything, and I would just love to like tell me everything, Jane.
Yeah,
tacos.
You know what I would love to do with like somebody like Jane Austen or Shakespeare is to show them all the interpretations over the course of history.
Right, all the adaptations that are based on their stories.
Yeah, cringe. Go, oh my god, that's not what I meant at all. That's not what I was talking about. What are you doing? That's terrible.
Right.
Just like showing Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet, and he's like, "What is happening?" Not what I wanted.
You just made me cackle. Like I literally don't know what the noise was that came out of my mouth. Oh, geez. Okay. I have another question for you. What scares you the most about the writing process?
All of it.
All of it. Yeah. Yes.
Man.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I think definitely I mentioned earlier about like my characters telling me the story. And I think I'm honestly very afraid of just getting the story wrong. Like not doing the characters justice, if that even makes sense. Like they're not real people, but I feel like they're telling me their story, and I want to like bring it fully to life, and I want to do the characters justice and the world justice. And I think that's the thing that honestly blocks me in writing and makes me scared of writing, and like is just not doing it right, which definitely leads back into the perfectionism thing.
I was just about to say that's the perfectionist talking.
I can't remember where I heard it. It could have been like a YouTube video or something, or a podcast. But they said perfect is the enemy of done. And I was like, that is so true. I need that like tattooed on my body.
I can look it up if you want.
Huh?
I can look it up where it came from.
Yeah, for sure. I think I heard it on a podcast, but I think she got it from someone else, but I don't know where the quote originated from. But yeah, that's something that's definitely I related to so much.
For me, what helped me the most?
It's a out of context quote, and it's contributed to Voltaire, and it says, "Perfect is the enemy of good." And then somebody took that and
twisted it. Yeah,
gotcha. I like
very interesting. But I was going to say, what helped me get over that initial procrastinating fear is good writing is rewriting. Knowing that in the edit is when you make it really shine.
Yeah.
Kind of took a little of the pressure off that first draft. Like knowing, like you said, knowing now that the first draft doesn't have to be the next American bestseller or the next American novel, you know?
Yes. There's very small odds that
Grapes of Wrath, you know, it doesn't have to be Grapes of Wrath or East of Eden or anything like that. So, you know, feeling that like I have that time and that room and edits to really make it shine, then you're like, okay, let's just get the plot down, then put on in the heart, put on the muscles, put on the skin, and then you have a full, you know, story.
With I was talking earlier with Anne Lamott's book, Bird by Bird. She says like the whole beginning of it is her just like, there's a chapter where she talks about just, but what if I die before I finish the second draft? Like what all that's left when I die is the first draft, and they're all gonna think I was the worst writer on the planet.
Right.
And I fear that so much.
Well, that happened. That happened to Frank Cabert in the Dune series. His son had to finish it because he was left with. Like, it was like the third or fourth draft, I think, maybe even second or first. But he had to end up grabbing it and finish. I think also Tolkien too. I think his son finished it as well.
Really? Yeah,
but I think the Silmarillion, or however you say, Silmarillion. Yeah, Silmarillion.
I mean, we're running up against it, but JD had one more question, so you guys want to answer this really quickly.
Like what character would we want cosplayed, or who do we want to cosplay or character?
People cosplay any of your characters. Who would you want them to cosplay? Wow, that would be amazing to me to see the interpretations of Jack Casey for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, I don't want to see that because that person would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, same. I was just gonna say that. I don't actually want to see that.
Oh, man. Yeah, that'd be a little intimidating. I would say, you know, either Ginny or Bree would be really cool to see because they have distinct features that mark them. Like Ginny, when she is using her angelic powers, her eyes go gold. Bree has a gold ring around her eyes. So, like, there are like actual, you could cosplay them and be like, I've got the red light to my hair. I've got the gold eyes. I've got this going on. Walk around with a fan.
This is where fantasy has a good advantage over all of us literal folks. You have really cool, weird shit that you could cosplay.
Fantasy is perfect for cosplay.
I'm trying to think about my characters, and it's like there's nothing really fancy about them. They're all just very personality driven because they're just normal people.
But they've got props like the sword that the brother had or the cousin has, and the red hair for the other guy, and
right, for sure. Yeah, I think beyond that, just like their weapons of choice and their hair colors is pretty much what
that's all you need. I mean, look at like Captain Marvel. I mean, it's just a one-piece suit is all she wears, you know.
And the shield, exactly.
No, that's Captain America. Captain Marvel doesn't have a shield.
Oh, Captain Marvel, right? Sorry, I misheard.
Look, the Captain America is pretty simple. I mean, Thor's pretty simple. Thor wear armor and a hammer. That's it, you know. I don't even know if he wears underwear. I don't know if they've even examined that yet, but
we don't know if they want to examine it.
They only ask the girls if they wear underwear.
It's even easier. You just paint yourself green and wear some shorts.
Yep. This is very true.
It's true.
All right, so it's time for check-in and make progress. So we talked to Katie Solitis, who we were lucky enough to have join us last month, and she was so close to making her goal of the first 20,000 words. She was 2K short, so she did an amazing job, and I know she's going to hammer that out. She's had a lot of family obligations and, you know, running the kids to the pool today. Like, how lucky are those kids? But that means less writing time for mom. So she did a great job, even though she didn't make her goal. I made my goal with a few weeks to spare. It was very exciting because I was so close to the end for so long. And it just was like the end dragged. so happy to be done with that. My goal for this month is I'm thinking I want to do more social media posts for my personal JK Allen stuff. And so I'm going to make a goal of doing 10 social media posts this month just for me. What about
all over,
you?
spreading through Twitter, Facebook, or just one concentrated place?
No, it'll be like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but I'll make a more concerted effort to actually post more than like once a month.
Nice.
I'll try to post a few times a month. So, what about you, Emily? What's your goal for this month?
I think my goal for this month will be, I don't want to make it too lofty, but I also want to like do the cattle project
attainable
myself.
goals. Attainable goals.
Yeah, so man.
Remember, it's just a short-term goal. So short-term goals have to be
small. I'll say, since I'm only like halfway through chapter 2 of my second draft, I'll say through chapter 3. So I'll finish chapter 2 and then do chapter 3. So I feel like that's pretty attainable.
Yeah, definitely. And how about you? Your goal last month was
to create the beautiful intro that you all saw.
It was great. Yeah.
And I actually, that was a cheating goal because I actually had that done the next day, but after the first show. But I was actually going to be on the first show and it didn't render in time. So I kind of cheated a little bit with that. I'm going a little loftier, and I'm asking for the audience's help on this one because the audience, our Going Now audience, knows that I have a calendar posted of all of my shows and when they come out. And so I will already have broken this goal, but I'm saying after this. So I was supposed to have the flagship show out yesterday, and I'm already not going to do that, and it will not be out today either. I can guarantee that. But I'm shifting a little bit. So Tuesday, the flagship show will be out, and Thursday, we're moving the spotlight show that I had planned for Wednesday to Thursday because I want to be able to give Karina an opportunity to have an audience, because if I do the flagship show on top of that show, she'll get buried, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm moving it to be rational, not because it's not done. It's to move it to be rational. But from that point forward, from Thursday on, my calendar that I've posted will remain the absolute same, and I will hit every single one of those deadline goals this month. And you all are there. You have the calendar in front of you, so call me out and make sure you can call me out the day before, and say, "Where is this show? You promised us this show. You promised us this. Get it done, Joe. Get it done." So that's my goal. I think JD has the most loftiest of all of our goals out there. But hopefully, gosh, I hope that's the case, brother. I hope
make that goal.
I like it.
I don't know what that means, Anita. You're gonna have to be a little bit more precise than editing. You always edit. You write something once a week, so I would.
And then she edits it. Yeah, she's just a machine, a powerhouse of like getting books out.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Goals, life goals.
Yes, you did. You were okay. Don't worry about it. It's not you. It's me. I'm just saying. But as I mentioned earlier today, but yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
All right. So quick, where can we find you? And then we'll wrap up. So Emily, where can we find you?
On Instagram, I am Emily Catherine Fisher, and that is also my website. It's Catherine with a K. And then I am also on Twitter, and my handle, if that's the right word for Twitter, I don't even know, is mcatfish with a K for cat. And that's about it.
Which everyone got a kick out of the catfish.
Yes.
There you go. She amended her goal for next month. You all know that we're recording this, so I have it on record. So JD, you have to survive, and Anita, you have to finish. We're going to check in with you, make sure.
We're going to check in.
JD's will be the easiest of all of them to check in with, but we'll find out.
Right. And Joe, where can we find you?
Right here, right now. Going Now, goingnnow.com, and then facebook.com/goingnnow. Me personally. My Twitter is JoeDream73, and we have where you can find this calendar that I'm talking about is on my Think Tank group, which is our Going Now group. Everybody who's watching this who's not a member of the group, please go be a member of the group. We welcome every single listener and watcher of our shows to be there. It's where we post what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So if you want to be involved in that and be part of it, then, how do you get on these shows? I get to ask that a lot. That's one of the ways to do it. That's where I post the original want ads for everything that I do. So if you guys want to be ahead of that and get on the schedule, that's how you do it. So go to our think tank group. It's Go Indie Now Think Tank and Suggestion Box, and I have my own personal readers group, which I don't even know the name of right now. So I'll just find it. It's somewhere.
Post a link in the description.
Okay.
You can find me at hijinkswriter.com. Hijinkswriter is also my social media handles for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find me at threefuriespress.com. And guess what, guys? It's always time to go indie now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Bye, guys.
Bye.